You did
All
it.
right, we're here.
You did it.
Hey, so my name is Jan. Welcome to the Atlanta Film Festival Creative Conference. I'm here with my really good friend, writer, producer, Lenore. I never know how to say your last name, Coer, but then it's something else, right? Say your whole name.
It's Lenoré Coer is fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
Lenore Coel. I like to Coer. I like to call her LC or best friend, something like that.
If you're backwards, like when you.
I am. That's why I did double.
Okay.
So Lenore and I were just talking about how great minds think alike. She's wearing a mauve. I'm wearing a mauve. Her mom got her necklace. My mom got me my necklace.
Yeah, she's very kind. I like that lady.
Yeah, so we're ready. So Lenore, tell everybody about yourself, what you do, and how you got started.
Oh, that's such a loaded question. What about myself? I like long walks on the beach.
Okay.
I like to eat. No.
I like to eat.
So I found.
Wait, really quickly, do you like to eat hot dogs?
No.
No. I only like to eat hot dogs in the summer.
I mean, I'll eat a hot dog at like a barbecue.
Yeah, summertime. You know what I mean? Or a baseball game. Although I sit way in the back stands because I don't want to get hit in the head with a baseball while I'm enjoying it.
To you. Like I think.
Oh no.
Okay.
Oh no. I played softball and I got hit in the eye with a softball as I was in the outfield trying to catch it, but then I got really scared because it was coming so fast and I did like this, clocked me in the eye, I passed out and the ambulance had to come lift me up and then everybody gave a slow clap and I waved. So it's a whole.
I'm really sorry that happened to you.
Yeah.
And we can hold something else that I don't think that would happen to you again if you were sitting in the stands.
Sure. I still have a little bit of PTSD, so that's why
Understood.
I like to go. But anyway,
But I will eat a hot dog. You were like, do you like hot dogs? And I was like, yeah, it's really my thing. Like,
yeah, but it's not worth it to eat something if you don't like it. You know what I mean? If it's just kind of like
get off the grill, like if somebody's like grilling, then I'll have a hot dog. But I prefer sausages off the grill.
Oh, I love a good sausage. So, and I know what I just said was a little weird, but
if if there are options on there, then I will opt for the sausage.
Let's get back to your writing career.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I like sausage. I found writing through acting. Mm-hmm. Like that was my initial plan when I.
So you're a screenwriter. So you are.
Okay. I'm a screenwriter, producer, digital content creator. I don't even consider myself an actress anymore because like that feels so long ago. But that's how I actually started. And I started in Atlanta. And I remember I was like doing commercials in Atlanta. And I remember like looking around the room, looking at set, and I was like, the people that have longevity here, they are actors. You know, it's not just models, but it was like actors, like the ones who were still continuing to work. So I was like, all right, well, maybe I should pursue this. So like after college, I moved to New York to pursue acting. And I got like really frustrated with the roles that my reps were sending me out on, like girl next door, girl getting out of the bed and doing something ridiculous. And I was like, well, I could write better than this. You know, I'd always been like short stories. I was a Spanish major, so I'd always been like in the text and writing and all those kinds of things. And I actually read a Eric Jerome Dickey book, and in it, the protagonist was a Black female screenwriter. And I was like, wait a minute, this is a job? Because I didn't know that this was like a career and a profession and something that people could do.
Right.
But when I, found her in that book, I was like, I think I could. And she was fly too. Like, I was like, I think I could do this. So yeah, I like went to the new school, got a screenwriting certificate because I didn't want to pay for an MFA. I was like, why? And I just that kind of started me on my journey. And it was really hard in the beginning because like nobody knows you. Like you just think you can write all of a sudden and you never done it before. So people were like, why would I meet with you? Why would I, a chance on you? And so I was like, okay, well, I took a writing for the digital screen in school. And so I had started like working through this idea for a web series. And I'd seen the success of like Issa Rae's Awkward Black Girl. And we also studied high maintenance, I want to say. I think that's with Lisa Kudrow, and just kind of like saw the success. Robert Townsend had one. And so like people were really getting into the internet. And so I was like, well, I might as well just do a web series. I felt like it was small, contained, something I could handle, even though I'd never done it before. But I just somehow in my mind, I was just like, I could do this. I can figure it out. And I just figured it out. I literally had no idea what I was doing, but I just decided that was what I was going to do.
So let's break that down a little bit. Because what I find interesting is number 2 and 3 and 4, I agree with you about like, when I decided to be a director, like I always knew that I wanted to be a director. I always felt like the Lord was calling me to be a director. But what really pushed me over the edge was I was like looking at movies, and they had the behind the scenes like featurettes, and everybody was always the director's friends. And so my motivation always was to have friends. So I was like, I'll be a director because everybody will be my friend,
Oh, that's
I don't
sweet.
even know. It's
I also heard this story about August Wilson too. Like someone that I know was like in an August Wilson play, like the first one that was like on Broadway, or one that was on Broadway. And she was like at the kind of like, not rap party, but whatever, the premiere party or whatever.
Yeah.
He was like, everybody was like having fun and going crazy. And she like looked over at him, and he was just kind of like sitting there like watching everybody, and he said that he was the reason that all of these people were together. And like and I do feel like that sometimes. I'm like, just because I sat down and decided to write something, like all of these people have created this like world that was like in my mind.
Sure. And what's so, man, that's such a beautiful statement. Like what's so crazy about that too is what you were talking about, like seeing things like in television that didn't reflect you.
Oh yeah.
And you were like, I could do better than this. And I definitely champion artists to create from their hearts and create things that they were birthed to create. And so talk to me about that experience of seeing one thing and then being bold enough and brave enough to say, I want to be a new voice and create my own lane.
I don't know if that was a conscious decision for me. Like, because of this, I'm going to do this. I think for me specifically, it was, I had tried to do so many other things. Like I have worked in so many different industries, and I hated them all. Not hate, but like, it just wasn't it. And so once I found this particular way of storytelling, I loved it so much. And I was like, I just want to do this. Like, I really, 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 really want to do this. And so now I have to do this now that I've been exposed to it.
And I think, and so, I'm trying to get better at not interrupting people because
you're not interrupting.
But I was just telling a friend of mine, you and I have done a lot of really cool stuff, including writing a pilot together and all of this stuff. And I was just telling a friend, I was like, it's not even that I think I'm particularly good at what I do. It's that there's this need inside of me to get these stories out of me.
They won't leave you alone.
Won't leave you alone.
They will not. Like,
listen, they won't. Listen, when I was I don't know if people know this about me. I wasn't particularly I won't say I wasn't popular.
Okay.
People did put my head in the toilet bowl. Okay. As a kid. And I was kind of a loner, but I was also friends with everybody. But the reason that people weren't probably necessarily friends with me, is because Okay.
Go ahead.
When my cousins used to come over, I used to want to play Barbies all weekend, but they had storylines like they were being drugged, runaways, like very like dramatic.
How old were y'all?
I was like 9, like very dramatic storylines. And then I would record soundtracks. I would make soundtracks by recording music from the stereo. And then when it was time for their monologue, I would be like, and I really feel, and then turn them slowly as if the camera is going around them, and then push play on the cassette, right? So that's how it began.
Gotcha.
And my friends were always like, my cousins were always like, I don't want to play Barbies. I don't want to be a runaway. And I'm like, this is the story. But when I was a freshman in high school, this is so sad to like say out loud, but hey, what do I have to lose? Yeah. And then like I fast forward to 3 years later, and my husband's like, what? I would pretend to be characters in my stories, and all my stories were romances. So I would have a pretend boyfriend that I would have pretend arguments with in the hallway at school. Like I would dip around.
Like this was happening at school, like not at home in your bedroom?
At school, I know. Okay. When I would dip around and then have this imaginary argument and then write it down later.
Okay.
I'm sure people saw me. I thought people didn't see me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that didn't lead to a lot of dates, you know what I mean? Or a lot of like hangout sessions.
Right, because you were talking to yourself.
Right, but I think it serves me now. I don't know how we got onto that tangent. We were talking about it just has to get out of you.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
you have to be a storyteller in that capacity.
Even if it embarrasses you.
Yeah, even if I don't, like, I'm a little better now, but like sending out that first draft, I call it my vomit draft. My vomit draft is literally where I force myself, because I've been like, I've been avoiding, I've been like procrastinating, just sitting down. So my vomit draft is literally just sit here and just write this thing, just get it out. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's gonna have all the typos, it's gonna have like, just sit here and do it. And before, I used to have so much anxiety and fear about sending out that first draft, because I just felt, I don't know, so exposed and so vulnerable. And so like, because you put you on the page, right? And you put your experiences and things that you've seen or shared with someone. And so then to turn that over to someone else for a critique, because that's actually what I'm looking for, like, help me make this better. I just felt like so judged. Like I would just be like, oh, I can't do it. And my friends were at this point, I'm just like, hey, can you read this?
I've gotten a couple of those where you're like, just read it.
Can you just read it? But before, I was a mess. I was a mess. Like I would hold on to it for days and days and days. And then people were like, I thought you were done. I was like, I am, but you know.
So tell me about that process of writing your very first screenplay, and then how that process got better and better for you.
I don't really remember writing the first one, but I remember in those early days of overwriting, of like, especially when it comes to dialogue. Also because I feel like dialogue is one of my strengths now, and just to see how far I've come. I remember getting a note like, people don't talk like this. Like my sentences would just be so long and so like proper grammar, like will you visit me this evening, or like, you know, stuff like that. And I got a note that it was like, people also don't always say exactly what they want, think, feel, or need. It's
and to have subtext.
And so I think that was like my biggest, and my action lines, but I don't feel like my action lines have gotten better over time.
So I teach a couple of classes with Heartbeat Film Club, which you're going to come chat with us there. But one of them is a writing class for screenwriters at the beginning and middle kind of stages. And I do see a lot of beginner mistakes with screenwriters, like the dialogue, making sure that it's actually dialogue that people would say. Can you tell me like other mistakes that you noticed along the way in your journey, and then what has the growth that has happened, or other things that you've learned?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that made a difference in my writing was I used to just start writing, right? And like, I gotta get it out, I gotta da 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 da. Versus now, I start with the characters. And so that informs so much of how they speak, what they say, what they wear, where the story is. Like, it informs so many of the things that I was trying to like make this thing versus organically, this girl is adopted from Atlanta. She just moved to New York. So what kind of experience would she be having? She's trying to fit in. She's a fish out of water. So like, what does she wear? You know what I'm saying? And so like, how is what she's wearing in, like, how are people at work responding to her? And so like those things kind of informing the story, I didn't get that piece until I do my character work. And I literally do the same 2-page character work before I start a story.
Yeah. So what does that look like for you? Because for me, like I'll do, so I go real deep, you know what I mean? Like I'll do a lookbook, right?
Oh, no, I'm not doing that.
I do a lookbook. I do soundtracks. Obviously I've had some previous experience doing that. I'll do a character analysis. I'll just go really deep and know every single detail and to feel these characters and where they are and where they live. Go to the restaurants that, you know, if it's a small town restaurant in there, I'll actually go to a small town restaurant and sit and feel and experience it. So what's kind of the process for you?
Yeah, I asked I literally asked the character, like, well, what's your full name? And then they like tell me their name.
Wait, imaginary?
Yeah.
So I wasn't crazy in high school.
So I literally, when I say a 2-page character sheet, I have like, it's like 2 pages of questions that I usually I'm like asking of the character, like, what was the last year like for you? Like, what's your socioeconomic status? Like, what's your relationship like with your parents? What's your relationship like with your siblings? And I'm not judging it. I'm not judging her. I'm not judging him. I'm just like, who are you? And I usually end up, it's pretty extensive by the time that I'm done, and I move on to the next character, and I'm like, all right, so let's say it's a romance, like I do one for her, and then I usually start with my female characters, just because I primarily write from the female protagonist's perspective, and then I do the male, and then I'm like, all right, well, who else is in this world, or what else do you need in order to showcase different sides of your personality? And then I'll just move from there before I even start figuring out like plot, right? Like, I feel like I'm doing all of that character stuff just to know who they are. Like the story, I have the stories like in my brain and my spirit and my soul, like, oh, this girl falls in love at Christmas time, whatever. Falls in love at Christmas time. Okay, cool. So I'm writing a story about a girl who falls in love at Christmas time. So who is this girl? Who is she? Why is she? Is this her first love? Is this her last love? Is this her, and that's kind of
I always need a hook
for me, really, right?
Yeah, it does, because I always tell my students, the more informed you are as a creative, the more that you're able to put authentic pieces on that page. I always have to start with a hook. Like for me, like with Soulfire or the short film that I did with a whole bunch of really cool people, or stories that I'm doing now, there always has to be like a aha, And then I can like go from there. But my issue, I don't know if you ever run it. Well, you don't because you're married, but I don't know if you ever run into this.
I was single for a very long time, girl. So, yeah, so we can talk.
Listen, a lot of mine, like yours, are romances. And I usually, The Notebook.
I did not like The Notebook though.
We don't need to talk about that.
Okay,
we need to just close that chapter, that part of what you're.
Okay, it's fine.
Felicity, though. Have you seen Felicity?
I've seen Felicity.
Woo. You're about to say you hate it.
I didn't hate it. I was like,
You ever experienced heartbreak?
Keep going with your story.
No, mine is always romance, and it's always influenced by people around me. A lot of my stories, like you read the pilot that I was writing where it's about my life and my parents, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. It's definitely influenced by people in my life. I don't mind showing the people in my life, but anytime a lot of it works around a romance, and it's usually around a particular person, sometimes, not always, but attributes. Mm-hmm. And so lately I've been afraid to write because I don't want them to know that I have this massive crush on them. Mm. So like, I feel like I'm in between a rock and a hard place. Do you ever find that when you write from truth, because it's about your experiences, that you kind of shy away a little bit from the writing, or do you go all the way in?
No, I go all the way in because I can't help it, but I try to not make one particular person so, like, let's say there are 5 attributes of this person, then my character will get like 3, and then the other 2 will probably be in my protagonist.
That's smart.
You know, or vice versa. Like, I can find myself. So like, people are always like, this doesn't seem like you did it, whatever. But I can always find myself, a piece of myself, in each one of my characters. Like, there's a little piece of Lenore in every single person, but you can't, I mean, you could, but it would be hard to be like, this particular character is all the way Lenore, because I would die. Like, I would just die. Like, no, I would die.
Well, let me just say,
but I could literally take the situation and like drop it into a script for facts.
Okay. Because I'm not as good as you, because my character might be named Blade, and the guy's name might be Blade, but I name him Slade. You know what I mean? Like in the writing. It's
all right. Yeah, I can do
not
that.
Not good.
Not that. So, I can no. I can do it on like the vomit draft for sure.
Oh, okay, that's
on
smart.
The vomit draft, yes, because I need to get it out of my body.
I'm learning tips.
Because I need to get it out. But as we go through development, he would never be the person who reads it or gives me feedback on it.
But I always dream big. I'm always like, well, of course this show's gonna sell, so he's gonna see it. You know what I mean?
Well, no. Yes, he's going to see it, but he would never. I would never be like, "Hey, Blade or Slade, read this first draft." You know,
that's
like,
true.
It'll make it onto TV, and if you pay attention, you'll see yourself.
Right.
For a fact. But I've
Yeah.
also infused some other things in there. I've also softened him.
So to give Slade like a peg leg. To give Slade a peg leg. You know what I mean? Slade's like, that's not me. I don't got a peg leg.
Not me. And then you'd be like, but our whole relationship just played out of the next 5 seasons of this. Okay. Sure.
Yeah. If my mom was a part of this conversation, she'd be like, well, you need to get a man first. That's
Well, not everyone is partnered yet. And that is a true reality for a lot of people that watch TV.
I mean, that's okay. I always bring this up. It's really not a big deal. I just think it's funny. And I'm saying it like I'm really thinking about dating all the time, and I'm so single and so sad, and I'm not. I have a full life. I do. I have a full life. Anyway.
I believe you.
Well, you're a part of that life. So
I was like, who you trying to convince here? Because I believe you.
I know. So tell me about, I want to talk about your big news in a minute, but tell me about Stepford Side Chicks. Tell me how that came about and kind of the progression of the success of that.
That came from me not knowing anybody in LA. So like that was the series that I was like, okay, I gotta make this.
So you lived in Atlanta and then you went to film school in New York and then you moved to LA?
Yeah, for the most part, that's the condensed version of it. Yeah. And so when I got to LA, I didn't know anyone and no one would like take a meeting or I couldn't, find like getting into a writer's room. I always felt like, and sometimes still feel like getting into a writer's room is like the secret mystery or like the secret.
I think getting into any room. I had this like conversation
started. And then when you get there, you're just like, not all that, people. Like,
I'm like, y'all
it's a job. Like it's a job. Like,
exactly. Oh, let me tell you, the first meeting that I had with Bark Bark, they were like, we want to meet you. Bark Bark, the commercial agency that signed me for a bit and I was making commercials out of, they're like, yeah, we want to meet you and have coffee. And I was like, heck yeah, coffee, right? So then I go to this, great big office building in Atlanta and it's so nice and modern. And then we sit down and I got my bag on. I'm like, okay, I don't know why y'all have me meet y'all here, but let's go get coffee. And they're like, oh, we have coffee here. When I tell you the disappointment on my face, my whole face fell. I was like, but I thought, you know what I mean? And then they were like, we want to offer you a job. And I was like, listen, that's great, but where's the coffee? So that I feel like that's in comparison to what getting in the room is like. You're like, yeah. But then you're like,
I also feel like getting to LA was that for me. I was like, LA is Oz. I was like,
don't get me started.
I was like, this is Oz. Like,
so you decided to jump out, do Stepford Side Chicks. So again,
but I didn't know what I was doing. And so like, even now, like when people are like, well, tell me how you did this. I just be like, I just made a decision. I made a decision that this was happening. And so then I had to work backwards from, okay, how do I make this happen? Because it's not like I can call up my uncle, I can call up my cousin, I can call, to be like, how did you do this? Because I didn't know nobody. I didn't even know this was possible until like 2-3 years before. And so literally I was like walking up to like my favorite comedian that I'd been following forever after a comedy show. Like I like sent the screenshot to my homegirl. I was like, he's gonna be at this comedy place. Like, we should go. And she was like, we're absolutely going. And like after the show, I like walked up to him, introduced myself, and I was like, and I'm doing a web series and I was really like you to be a part of it. I can't really pay you, but I'm a nice person and this is my idea. And he was like, okay. And I was like the thing about when I was also very much like, this is happening.
Yeah.
So I kind of got to get out of my own pride, ego, fear, whatever those things were where I can't ask for things or I'm too afraid or too ashamed to ask for things. And just like, but I'm asking for this because I'm doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm literally doing this. So I just need a yes or no from you. Like, yes or no, can you do this?
Yeah.
No, it's fine, because then I can move on to someone else. And I don't think that I had ever been that person or been in that space to like have that much confidence, because people were like, oh, you just seem so secure. And I was like, I absolutely had no idea what I was doing or if this was gonna work out. Like I just decided that I was going to do this.
Well, I think what's key
I didn't have no money. So like I had like, people were like, you did so much on set. Like I was cooking on set. I acted on set. I was like, wrote everything. I was like, even like I did these things because I had to do these things because nobody else was going to do these things. So like, who's going to do it?
Well, I think what's key about what you said, a couple of things, and this is so exciting. I'm glad that people are able to hear this part of the conversation, especially people that have dreams, you know what I mean? The dreamers out there, that it's totally possible. It's a reality. I always say, always feel like I'm like, time is a construct, but that's not what I mean. I'm just like, I don't think that we exist in time necessarily. I know God doesn't exist in time. And so I feel like our lives are like stacked, like parallel. And the things that you experience, the things that you have to get out of you, the things that you feel compelled to do are just because you've already done them. You just haven't gotten there yet. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I feel like you saying you just had to make a decision. And that's the key thing. I always feel like every project that I've ever done, that's especially been a passion project, or even going to meet Bark Bark, there was a choice where I could go or not go. And I was like, I'm making a decision, I'm gonna go. Just making the decision will propel you forward. And you only have the options to keep going. You could quit, but if every door starts opening to you because you just said yes, that's what's really important.
And you're like, what else? Well, what else can
exactly.
But that was for me. But like that was also leaving Atlanta. Like once I made that decision to go in 2009, my life has never been the same. Like never been the same. Once I decided to quit my job with no plan, I was just going to do this. And it's funny because I literally just called my dad the other day, because I was like, you were the person that I called when I was about to jump off the cliff. Like I was so scared to jump off the cliff and just move.
We're saying metaphorically, not
no,
literally. Let people know.
walk, choose something else for my life that I've never seen anybody else do, that no one in my family had done. Like I was the one crazy enough to believe that like, just because I want to do this, I'm going to try and see what happens. And I remember calling my dad and just being like, I'm about to quit my job. And he was like, do it. He was like, just jump, you know? And when I called him this past week and like was kind of reminiscing over there, and I was just like, my life has never been the same. Like all of these things are happening, blah, blah, blah. And I just wanted to say thanks. And he was like, that's cool, because I was terrified. And I was like, what? I was like, what? He was like, yeah, I was terrified. He was like, I was so terrified. You didn't know like if this was going to work out. He was like, but I knew that you would be okay. And I knew if anything, like he and my dad has always said this, no matter where I have moved, and I have moved multiple times, always when he comes to visit and sees a new place or sees where I'm living in the hood or sees whatever, before he leaves, he always takes a second and like looks me in the eye and he's like, you know, you can always come home, right? Like that is his, he got all girls. That is his like, I understand what other people may not have, and other people got to do some strange for a piece of change, and other people have different.
Wait, did you say some?
Other people sometimes have to do that.
Yeah.
But he is like, but as for me and my house, my girls can always come home. And I think with that mindset, I was just like, I might as well try.
Well, that brings up, and I want to hug your dad, okay? Always. I know. I think that brings up another thought, like, well, two things. Number one, when you walked up to that comedian and were like, hey, I want you to be a part of my web series, you just didn't like lay back on your laurels and just was like, I think a part of the reason that he said yes and continue to say yes, because you understood your vision and you executed it well. You did the hard work to make him believe in you, that he's joining on to something good, whether you have money or not, connections or not. If you have a vision and you execute it well and you treat people well, there's no limit to what, there's no limit to what.
Now that, because I think because I'm from the South, because I was raised with Christian values, because I profess, you know, the things that I personally believe in treating people well and doing right by people and living my life with integrity. And so when you get into these spaces and you see like, oh, I'm the anomaly, like people are really being taken advantage here. Sets are very toxic, and like there's another way that like things can happen. I also was very clear on like, but this is the space that I am responsible for, and I am curating. I can't pay you, but I'm gonna feed you well, and I'm gonna treat you well, and you're gonna have a good time here, and I'm not gonna waste your time. Like those were some of our guiding principles on just like how we ran our set, so that when I got the actors, the sound people, that all these people to like invest their time, talents, and gifts into this project, they knew that they would be fed well, that they would be treated well, and that I wouldn't waste their time. And I think that like you can't always say that, even if you're on $100 million set, you know?
Yeah, well, and I think it starts here from where you are. And the second point that I was going to make that leads into this is to have a strong support system, like your parents, like other people around you. And this is not to say, if you've treated people horribly in the past and you've made mistakes, anybody can turn around. Anybody can be like, you know what, this is how I want to live. This is how I want my sets to be. Anybody can do it. There's access.
Make a decision. Make a decision.
Yeah. Make a decision on the type of filmmaker you want to be. Okay, I don't know much about making shot list or all the technical stuff. Let me take some classes. Let me go shadow under somebody. You can always make a decision to be better. Yeah. But number two, the power of good people around you, that support system. How important has it been? Number one, how important has it been in your journey? And number two, I can say, this is not a question, but I can see it reflective in how you ran that set, because you were loved and cared for. You wanted to make sure that you brought that back out into the world that you're creating.
Yep.
You know?
I would say that is the most important thing as a creative, is the people that you consider to be on your team and the people that you have around you. Like, will make or break a set, will make or break, your spirit, like when you're defeated or when you're disappointed or whatever. Those people around you who, like, it's not competition, it's like they are literally, like when I had the when I was at that comedy show and I was about to walk over to Rome, like my good friend Maya was like hyping me up to, no, go talk to him right now,
Yeah.
like, and I have that in my team, so that I also, when I got discouraged or when things went crazy, like I had people around me that cared about me, that cared about the project, to be like, all right, well, we're going to pivot. Well, we'll do this. Well, we'll handle this. Like, you just take a minute. And so I would say, because this isn't this, you can't make a film in a vacuum. It's just like this creative process and making what we want to make. It takes people. It takes a lot of people. It takes actors. It takes, someone's got to hold the camera. Someone's got to, like, everybody has a role. And
yeah,
who you have on your set, who you have on your team is so vital to your success and to your forward mobility, because those are also the people that make you like, I don't want to do this no more. Like, this is not fun,
Right. Yeah. And I feel like that definitely starts with you as a leader, right? You still have to lead well. It starts from the top down. You create an environment to love and lead others well. But also, like, I've had those moments and experiences. Like, number one, a really good friend introduced us, a writer, producer, named Camille Murray. She says Cicely Camille Murray, but I just call her Camille. You know what I mean? But her name, yeah. She's super talented and a great friend. And then, with like, and she was really good at pulling people together, saying, hey, you might be good at this. So-and-so needs help with this. I think she's going to be a tremendous producer and writer as she continues to go up the latter. But also like there was an artist that I really wanted to create for. His name was Gavin DeGraw. He's a singer. By the time this comes out, his album should be out. But I wanted to work with him for a long time, and my friend Chris pushed me. My friend Heather pushed me to say, hey, can I direct your music video? But then my friend Chris was basically like, I said, I really have this dream to do this. And he's like, what do you need? And that is what Chris and I continue to say to one another is, what do you need? And Chris rallied people together. Heather rallied people together. A beautiful woman named Shannon Rice rallied people together. And it just became one of the most beautiful experiences of my life and opened doors for other things, So I think that's super important. And me creating that project, like I said, opened doors to create other shorts and other opportunities, in the future. And so how did, creating Stepford Side Chicks, what was the like result of that? Because now you're doing even bigger stuff. So what was the result of that? How did that lead you down an even different path?
Well, one, it gave me the competency and the confidence to be like, oh wait, I actually do know what I'm doing. And so even though I'm doing it on this really small scale, that my skills are transferable. And also I can like talk to other creatives and like help them and be like, you can actually do this. Like and I say this all the time, it's like, I'm living proof, I'm evidence that this is possible because I did it. And like, you can do it. You can do it too. And it also gave me the confidence, or just like the drive to be like, well, if I did that, like, what else can I do? What else can I create? How else can I push my career forward?
Mm-hmm. So you wrote, directed, produced this project?
Not direct it. I did not direct it. Yeah.
Who directed it?
Swazina directed it. She's directed every single episode to date.
Okay. And Camille produced it as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how did this project open doors for you? Like, I know after you did this project, you started writing more features and selling them. Like, how did you're at this next level that you're about to enter into? So how did what was the journey from Stepford Side Chicks to where you are now?
So we've done 2 seasons so far, and we've gotten 3 Daytime Emmy pre-nominations just based off of just based off of us like coming together and like putting it out on YouTube. Yeah. That's why I just say like, just make the thing. And so from there, I was able to be like, when I was reaching out to managers, whomever it is that I wanted for my next level, it was easier for me to be like, hey, well, I've done this. These are the things that I've done. Here's a script. So that, hey, maybe you like me.
So a script. So you sent them, and let's talk about, so that next step, right? Management and representation.
Oh, that has been I feel like the turning point, because I was doing like shorts and other digital series for a very long time. And I was literally trying to make a feature, because I was like, if I've done this much content, episodically, like, what's 90 minutes of a feature? And so I was trying to make this Christmas film that I'm still going to make. Mm-hmm. And we were just like, all right, well, let's go out with this, versus like me going like the crowdsourcing route and like raising funds to make it. Why don't we see if we can get like investors or whatever
to make it as a writer producer, right?
Correct. So that was after probably like the second season of Side Chicks. But but that was also part of my bio. Like, if people see Daytime Emmy, they're like, okay, what's this girl got next? Because people are always like, all right, well, what are you doing next? Up and coming, like whatever. And so I was trying to get this movie made, and it just, through rejection. So like I got turned down. We got turned down. Like, no, we're not going to take this on from a production company. But the person, I'll just say the name. Her name is Denise Davis. But who we pitched to, she was like, but we're launching a management company. It hasn't been announced yet, blah, blah, blah. But I think you're cool. Like, whatever. Maybe she was like, if we don't work together like on this project, but maybe we can work together on the management side. And so I was like, okay. So like I literally wasn't even looking for representation at that point. But I had also been really diligent about making sure that my samples were strong. I've met executives through the I can't think of the program name right now. So I had like been invited to the Disney ABC like diversity forum thingy. And so I've been having like some doors open, right? I had been having some things open because I was just like, and I said this all the time, I was like, because when it's my turn, I'm going to have multiple things in my arsenal ready to go.
Like, so when you say when it's my turn, and a lot of people need to understand this, that, you know, a lot of students come to me and they're like, we want to sell a show. Can you get us in there to see Ava DuVernay? Well, I don't even know Ava. You know what I mean? Like, what? But that I'm like, I'm here to help prepare you for when you get the opportunity, that your work is solid and it's excellent. And so can you speak to that a little bit about like, when you're like, when I get my turn, I have samples ready to go. So when you went to this management company, you had already done Stepford Side Chicks and you kept writing features. You had stuff that if when somebody's like, hey, Lenore, we need a pilot for whatever, you have like 5 or 6 or 10 scripts backlog that you're ready to present, or ideas.
I had 30 shorts.
That you had produced or written? Okay.
I had 30 shorts. I had multiple features, and I had several pilots that when I finally got an introduction to my now manager, I was like, what do you want to read?
Exactly.
Like,
yes.
Like what do you want to read?
Yeah. It's that whole thing. If you're ready, you don't have to get ready.
I didn't have to get ready. And I also had like multiple things that I had shot, produced, co-create. Like I had so many also things in the digital space that I literally just sent link after link after link after link after link. Yeah. Along with scripts that were polished, ready to go, that I'd gotten feedback on, that I'd reviewed the notes, that I'd just worked on over the years. Yeah. So that it was a no-brainer. Like he signed me in the first conversation that we had. That's great. Because the key is like consistency for them to know your voice, right? And to be ready. So I think we have to pause right now. Okay. I'm going to pause for a second and we'll come right back. Let me get this figured out. Okay. You know how I am about this. Oh, here we go. Dang it. No, this is so unprofessional. Wait 1 second. For mine. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So what we were talking about was just continuing. Oh, that's the thing. People, first of all, your hair looks so beautiful. Thank you. I just got it right. My little niecey poo did it. People, I think that the common misconception is that like I'm at an opportunity right now where there are doors being opened to me to go into said rooms, right? And
I think that what people don't understand is you have to keep working. You have to keep creating. You know what I mean? So that when you do get to that place, it's like, aha, right? I just love doing that. Aha.
Yeah, it's a good time.
So I want to talk to everybody about this really good news that we've held. I love surprises. I don't know if people know this about me.
You said that. You said you called them a hook. You like hooks.
Yeah. I used to love to jump out and scare people. I still do, actually.
Please don't do that to me. Ever.
But it's like a soft scare. It's like, ah, right? Okay. So I do have one story. When I was a kid, my parents, they had this big like walk-in closet, and I went to hide in there to jump out and scare them. And I was waiting, and then I heard them coming, and your face. I was waiting and I heard them coming, and I jumped in the closet, and I jumped behind the clothes, and my hand, this is how much I love surprises though. There was a nail that was sticking out. You can still see the scar, I think, right here. My hand slid into the nail. I'm like 9. A lot happened when I was 9. But I didn't want to ruin the surprise. So this nail is in my skin, and I'm sitting there like, and it's like bleeding. Yeah. I'm so quiet. And then finally they walk up to the door, and I jump out, my hand slips out the nail, and I literally, it's bleeding, and I go, surprise. That's how much I love surprises. Like,
I would think maybe I learned my lesson from jumping out and scaring people, because it started bleeding and sliced myself on a nail and had to get a tetanus shot, and
no, that was a
that's how I would have interpreted that. But no, you are like, this is how much I love surprises, that I would injure myself.
Yeah. Listen, but if you haven't realized already, I carry a little bit of drama with me. I'm cool, calm, collected. Like, that's how I see myself. Like, very like, this is how I see myself.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Really? Listen, you don't got to be that surprised. Okay. You
don't
have to realize.
No. Really? Oh, really? Yeah. Really?
No, all of my friends are like, what? But in my mind, when I interact with the world, I feel like I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. Whatever, I'm chill. I'm serious.
I don't see myself that way at all. So it's interesting that you see yourself that way when we are very similar human beings.
Well, yeah, I guess if you put it like that, because I don't see you like that.
I'm not this at all. My husband is this.
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah. Maybe I wish I could be like this, but I
can't. No. I can't be that way because I'm a creative. And so like, I have to have emotions. Like, I'm crying while I'm writing a script. I'm laughing. I'm like going through all the emotions. And so when that translates into the real world, and I'm like we just got one of our rooms painted like this week. Yeah. And I opened my closet today, and all of my clothes are covered in like the painted white soot stuff. And I was just like, I cannot handle this. I'm so overwhelmed. I can't do it. Like, and my husband was just like, well, I guess we'll just have to wash, and I guess we should. And I was like, life is so hard right now.
Yeah, I know. But I think sometimes when I get in moments like that, then I go real extra. Well, it's not extra, it's just being self-aware. I'm always like, yeah, I'm worried about, like, I'm trying to eat healthy and work out. And I was walking up this hill, and I was like, ugh. But then I was like, at least I get to walk up the hill in peace. There are people that can't do that right now.
Well, I have that moment when I'm complaining, but I don't feel like I was complaining about that. I feel like I was like shocked and horrified by that. I was like, I can't deal with this right now. I have a 1 o'clock.
Yeah. But I think, but in our work, but I feel like, I think how it balances out is that in our work, we do try and create things that change the world, whether for good, happy things, or whether for super dramatic things like I do, right? So I think that consciousness. Yeah,
you had it right the first time.
The consciousness of spirit, like wanting to better the world through our gifts and our art. So tell everybody this super big news that you have, what you can say, and then we'll talk about that process.
Yeah, so I have finally sold like my first project to a streamer, which is so crazy to say. Like, when I said it out loud, I was like, yes, that happened.
Yeah.
And there's another part of me that is kind of like, did that really happen? You know,
right.
like I haven't really reconciled. I don't know, like when I got the news.
And really quick, to break it down in layman's terms for people, you say I sold a project or something to a streamer. Basically, you wrote a pilot.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. And all the things that go with the pilot, a Bible, blah, 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 right?
Oh, I didn't.
No. Okay, no. So
I did not.
I want to hear about that.
I have not requested. It's complicated. Maybe I'll write a format. Maybe I won't. We'll see how it goes like later.
So you wrote a pilot and basically it's sold to a big streaming service. And so now you're being paired with a showrunner to create this show. That's huge.
No, it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. And also because I've been writing and doing this for so long, that I'm kind of like, okay, let's go. Like, whereas I feel like had it been in the beginning, in the earlier part of my career, like I would have been intimidated. I would have been like, I don't think I can do this. And I still have like some of those moments, but at this point, I'm kind of like, I really know this story. I really know these characters. I really know this. I'm actually really talented at writing. Like, there is a different, more mature artist that is showing up at this job, because it is a job, there's so much more to the waiting process that I am now becoming aware of.
What do you mean by that?
So like, I started writing this pilot 10 years ago. And I just couldn't figure out, because I like knew the idea was good. I knew it was good. I knew like, and so I couldn't understand like why I wasn't in a room, why I hadn't done anything, why I hadn't like done what I thought was success. And so when you ask me the question about like, well, what did Separate Side Chicks like teach you, or what did you get from that? And I feel like it was so much more about like ingraining in me as a creative to like make decisions, be clear, like this is the story that you want to tell, because there's so at this point, there's so many notes. There's so many people that are like pitching things and you're pitching, like there's so much extra-ness that comes with it, that without that kind of development process or that waiting period of where I was getting really clear on the characters, really clear on the world, really clear on what the goals are here, that I kind of feel like I would have been really influenced by other people. And instead of, when I finally get here, I'm going to tell the story that I actually want to tell.
So basically you're saying that you started this 10 years ago and then you did Stepford Side Chicks and some other stuff, and it taught you how to really focus on your characters, how to really focus on the story. And so by the time you got here, there are studios involved, executives, other writers, if it's a writer's room, producers, like there's so many notes coming in that all that time you honing your craft and your voice as a storyteller and your voice for this particular story and why your voice is important to the story. By the time you got here, you were able to recognize what to say yes to and what to say no to.
Because also, and I don't know why they make writers pitch. I think it's the most terrible, inhumane thing that they could ever do. However, when you're pitching, and I've had to like, you know, for open writers assignments or whatever, and for writer's room, like when you're up to be staff, like you have to pitch yourself, like why you, why this story, why now? Basically, like every single time it's like, what's the story? Why are you the one that should be able to tell it? And why should we tell it right now? And so if you don't know that, you could write a great script and not be able to convey that, and it not go anywhere. So that's also a really important process that I had to learn during my
I'm gonna mute for 1 second.
you know, I could have just been talking and you could have just muted yourself. Unless the recording mutes everybody, but I don't think that it does. I don't know. Oh, you want me to keep going? What else can I say? That it's interesting because it's not the only project that I'm doing right now. So trying to find a balance between multiple projects, and different projects are in different stages of development, um, is also a task that I'm learning and kind of getting a crash course in right now, versus before I could just focus on one thing. I'm just writing this right now. I'm just doing this right now. Whereas now it's like, no, we need the pitch for this, but also you need to respond to notes to this, and also we need to figure out the outline for this.
So do you find, so again, all of that hard work, people, the things, the seeds that are planted, the things that people think doesn't matter, like it's taken me so long, da, da, da. I can say from experience, just this past 2 weeks, I have had the opportunity of a lifetime that I've been praying and wanting for years. And when I finally got there, all of the experiences that I had had up to this point made me confident and sure and helped me make decisions that needed to be made. Mm-hmm. So again, can you just tell me again about the process of selling this show and how that happened?
Yeah, so my process was, my entire career has just been providence and favor. So I was trying to make the Christmas film. The production company that we pitched it to passed on it, but I found favor with the executive. And so when I reached out to her a couple months later and was like, hey, I saw the announcement that you guys now have a management company. How you doing? She was like, oh yes, let me put you in contact with she was like, send me a writing sample, send me what you've done, blah, blah, blah. And like I said, I was ready to go. So I had all my samples, my bio, my blurbs, my little links, everything ready to go. Sent that over to her. She forwarded it to one of the managers. I met with one of the managers over there and we fell in love, but she was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, we just starting out. We have a lot of clients right now. So it's just not the right time. She was like, but I have a friend who's a manager who I think y'all would really connect. And she introduced me to my current manager. And again, I was ready to go. And so he signed me. And then he recommended me for an agency. And so then I met with the agent and they were like, yeah, we love you too. So then they signed me. And so I started having generals with different production companies and studios around town. And just like, this is also what I'm saying. So like everyone's advice or everyone's whatever is that newer writers, your first time writers, like you're not gonna sell an original spec. You're just not. Have the spec so they can see how you write, blah, 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 but it's just never gonna sell. But what it will show is that you can tell a story and it'll be a writing sample to get you staffed. That's everyone's advice. Cool. I'm just coming out the gate. So I was like, let me send out my strongest sample.
And really quickly, had you sold a screenplay before?
No.
So this is your very first screenplay you ever sold?
Yeah.
Wow. It's like, what a miracle. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Like when I say providence and favor, it is.
Yeah. You've never sold a screenplay, and this show that you just sold, it was an original spec. And the very first screenplay.
First time? What they do to that? What they do to that? So, and go back one, we weren't trying to sell it. I wasn't trying to sell it. I was just trying to get staffed in a room. And I met, I had one of my generals, probably like the second week I signed with my manager, he had set up.
When you say generals, just people that may not know, what does that mean?
It's a general meeting with a production company. So let's say you were meeting or a production company or studio. So let's say you're meeting at Stars, or let's say you're meeting at whomever, Sony or whoever. They typically will take general meetings with writers just to like read your sample, see your personality, see if y'all are a good fit for each other, what else you're working on, and if you'd be a good fit for one of their rooms or for one of their open writing assignments. So I've had a lot of generals at this point, and it's literally like in the beginning I was like terrified, but now I'm just like, it's literally a vibe check. So it's like, do I vibe with you? Do I even like the projects that y'all are doing? Do you like me? Like, how can we work together?
That's what I learned about these meetings, because you go into it thinking, oh, this is my
chance. This is my moment. And it's like, do I even like you? Do I want to work with you?
Exactly.
For years and years, like, do I?
Yeah. I'm usually really good with people, right? Thank God.
Yeah. Okay?
Because otherwise, all those quirky things I told you about myself, you know what I mean? I don't know. The Lord had to do something to help me out. But when those meetings, when I first started going, people would want meetings, and I'd literally just be sitting there looking at them like, you know, like, are we getting coffee? My main thought was coffee. Okay.
And then it's also different now because everything's on Zoom.
Yes.
So everything actually,
for me, the Zoom is better for some reason. Maybe because
I feel like it's been my only experience. It's literally been my only experience. I feel like this being home has like really just opened up the world for me and this career for me. Like, cause I don't even live in LA anymore.
Yeah, Zoom has been, listen, we could go on a whole tangent about that. But I think the key thing about meetings, and really meetings, if you break them down, are really just, when I used to go to networking events, I would just be concerned about three things: the food, making sure I ate, but I wasn't eating like deviled eggs while trying to talk to somebody and got, deviled eggs smear. Like, the thing I don't like about deviled eggs is like when they have the deviled eggs tray and people's knuckles. Like,
you actually eat at those events? I never ate at those events.
Right. I'm saying
I also hate networking events. I hate networking events. Like,
well, but I turned it into, so I would eat the snack before I went to go. You know what I mean? I was concerned about
like, mine would be like after, so I could leave early and go eat.
Mine was different because instead of networking, I just was like, again, my thought process is like, how many friends can I make? And
networking events. I usually would just stand by myself near the bar, near the door, and just like watch people be so fake.
But that's the thing, again, about meetings.
I also am not good in those type.
Yeah. But again, if you go into it thinking, hey, I'm just going to hang out with a bunch of friends.
I went into it thinking, I don't want to do this.
Yeah. Well, I think that meetings, to me, what I learned is people are not, if you've got the meeting, they already think you have what it takes.
Right. And they also typically have already read your sample. So they've
already
the writing is good, you know,
yeah.
like you don't have time. But I had to learn that too. Like I was like, I don't know. And they're like, I read your sample, I thought it was great. That's why I wanted to meet you. Oh, really?
Exactly. Because they're not going to waste their time. If they don't think there's something great about you, they're not going to waste their time having coffee with you. Or...
They would be like, maybe later. Yeah. Like they would literally tell my manager, nah, we good.
So the point of the meeting is they already believe in you. They want to know if they get along with you.
Yep.
And that's something that Linda had to tell me. I was freaking out about this meeting that I had with this TV exec, who's a really great guy. And Linda was like, just be yourself, just be his friend.
I know, but you can't hear that when you're freaking out. And that is literally everybody, literally every single person that I talked to and like spazzed out with, they were like, just be yourself. Like,
and but like, you also have to think about it the reverse, because like in the position that you are in, younger writers may have in the past, but will be coming to you and like, I can't believe I can't believe I'm meeting Lenore. You know?
Okay, I have different language now because one of my, my friends in my writers group, she was kind of like going through the process like a few months after me. And I was like, it's a vibe check. It's a vibe check. Do you like her? Do he like, because they've already read you. They have already read you and they want to meet you. So it's just a vibe check. And I feel like if someone had said that to me when I was panicking and freaking out, I feel like maybe I would have been.
Yeah, because it's the truth. And also just everything that you said previously about you had never sold anything, but you had done all this hard work behind the scenes. I truly believe that what is for you is for you and it cannot pass you by.
Facts. Because we were not out to sell this. I met with an executive who was like, I love this. I want to pick this up. And I was like, excuse me? What?
It's crazy.
So I don't know. I don't know we're about to go out with something in a couple weeks here. So I feel like that is actually different than my first way. My first way was like, I was just trying to get in the room and had a great sample.
So what are the
spookiness? Like there's no magic, there's no spook, there's no.
Yeah. It's just being prepared for us prayer, you know what I mean? And just allowing God to move you where you're supposed to be, to not stress and just do your best.
Do your best.
What are your expectations now going forward? Like, I know you said that you have a lot of work to do, but you also have to focus on this show. So like, what are the things that you're looking forward to? What are your expectations for the show?
I hope the show lasts for a very long time and it does well. I hope people respond well to it and it is a global sensation.
So
I wanted to do well. Like I wanted it to last.
Well, I always remember I told you like I had this dream about this thing and then now it came back around and I heard my friend who was like Gavin, that musician, he was like, you always dream about the dream. Mm-hmm. Like you dream about playing at Madison Square Garden, but you don't think about how you're going to get to Madison Square Garden, like the tour bus and all the. And so for me with this dream, once I was in it, I didn't think about all the little things that came with the actual job of what I had dreamed.
And I actually have a life. Like, I think when I think about the dream or when I have thought about the dream, it was in a vortex. But what makes me a great writer, what makes me have these great ideas is that I'm also a really great friend. I'm a daughter. I'm a sibling. I like to travel. I like to go to church. Like I have all of these things in an actual life. And like, that don't stop. Because now there's this thing. So I think for me personally, because of just the person that I am, when it also like was a go, I kind of panicked a little bit because like, it's like, how am I going to handle all of these things? Because I had romanticized the dream. like romanticized and fantasized about it and didn't think like, okay, if you spend 12 hours in a writer's room and then you also have a husband, children, how are you planning, to spend that time with them and invest in them? And like, what does your life now look like?
And it comes back to the decision, because there are some people that are like, I'm going to completely pour, it's about choice. I'm going to completely pour all of this in. Then there are some people that are like, this is important to me, but this is just as important to me. And there are times in life where this might be 80, this might be 20. But that's like any relationship, really. I learned that relationships are not 50-50.
Not even a little bit.
They're not. They can be 90-10.
And they're, and they shift and they grow, and like there's different seasons for different things in life. And so that's something that I'm really learning now.
Yeah.
I'm walking the journey and walking the path and like continuing to like make decisions that feel right in my gut. So we'll see. But so far so good. Like,
yeah. So I guess my last question, and then we're going to wrap it up, is you did move from Atlanta. And we talked about this a little bit with Linda beforehand. I just wanted you to give a quick insight to that you moved from Atlanta to New York to LA because you wanted opportunities. Mm-hmm. How has the reach for opportunities changed now in terms of moving from Atlanta to New York to LA?
That's a great question, because I'm now back on the East Coast. Because for me, I realized that I can't be that far away from my family. I need my support system and my people, because I was in LA by myself and it was very isolating. And yes, I had friends and have a great team there, but for me and who I am and what fills my cup is like being with my loved ones and experiencing seasons and like having those things part of. And I also desired partnership and marriage, and that was really important to me, and that was really difficult in LA. And so I made the decision. Each time that I've moved, I've made the decision like what's most important to me, not necessarily like what's most important to my career. Because in New York, I feel like I just needed to get out. I needed to go experience the world. I needed to go explore. Moving to LA was like, I needed to see if I could do this, if I could make it, if I could really achieve and get the things that I say that I want. And moving back to New York, it was like, I need my family. I want this relationship. Like I needed the things that I need for me, and it's worked out for me. That's not to say that like this is the final stop. That's not to say that I won't be spending significant time in LA. But I do think that the pandemic and different things have opened up. I do think that all the writers' room that I've interviewed for have still been virtual.
So it's been a good change for you that you followed your heart, that you can still make moves from wherever you are, because you are the missing piece.
And wherever you are going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're lazy in Atlanta and think that everything is going to come to you, you're going to be lazy in LA and also think that everything is going to come to you. Versus if you're in LA, meeting folks, shooting stuff, that's who you're going to also take to LA with you.
But also coupled with that hard work is, I think definitely the hard work is first, but your gift in Atlanta is going to be the same gift in New York, how you treat people, right? It's all across the board the same.
What
My
you
friend's
do
mom
with your gift too, like
huh?
what you do with your gift is also
Yeah.
important too. Like I know a lot of gifted people that don't have completed screenplays.
Yeah, or completed shorts, features. Yeah, absolutely. Because you could be brilliant all day long. It's that scripture in the Bible where it's like, faith without works is dead.
If you ain't doing nothing, then how
Right.
do I know that you can write?
Exactly. Exactly. I cannot tell you how many times. So Camille, I don't know if I could say this on here, but she's always like, tell them, check the credits, ho. That's what she would always say, which means that you actually have credits and work to show. You don't have to say anything. This is the work, you know?
Sure.
So the last thing I'll say is my friend's mom, who I love dearly, her name is Lynn, she would always say, go where you're celebrated.
Mm.
I know. And I think that's such a powerful statement because here, like Linda asking us to do this for the Atlanta Film Festival, you being in New York with your husband, when you go where you're celebrated, your heart will flourish and you will be seen. You will be seen by people that need to see that see who you are, that you will be able to shine that out into the world.
Agreed.
So I think that influences your writing, your directing, anything creative that you do is by essentially going where you're celebrated and letting yourself flourish in that and celebrating other people.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to celebrate you today. And
I celebrate you too.
And thank you so much for joining us and talking to us about your journey. Everybody, this has been Lenore and Jan with the Atlanta Film Festival Creative Conference. I hope that you follow Lenore on her journey. It's Lenoré Coer, right? Follow her on her journey. I'm sure she's on all the social media platforms. And you guys, and watch her show when it comes out. I'm sure she'll post about it. And you guys continue to support and watch the Atlanta Film Festival. Linda has put together some great panels and people in the film festival in general that has been supporting Atlanta for over 40 years, has great stuff for you guys as well. So thank you for joining us. And I hope you guys have a great week and you follow your heart. Bye. All right, let's see. Jan trying to stop this recording.